I'm here because a number of years ago, my son was at lunch with us. My husband and I had taken him to lunch, my little boy Spencer. And we noticed that he was coughing repeatedly, a lot. I mean, just unendingly. And so we took him home, and I did what most mothers would do. I gave him a little cough medicine, and I told him to lie down. And I realized very quickly that his heart was racing out of his shirt. Well, 25 minutes later or so, the heart was still racing, and I got really scared. So I said to my husband, you know what, I'm not waiting anymore. We're going to the emergency room. We were escorted immediately to a room where he was put on oxygen, and they started the IV drip of the steroids. We spent the next 2 nights in the ICU. You can imagine my husband and I were very scared. We started to ask each other a lot of questions. How did this happen? Why us? They were calling it respiratory airways disease, which basically is just the precursor to asthma. They sort of don't want to call it asthma right out front. And I see all of you nodding your heads because I know that what I'm going to hear is that you've all been through the exact same thing, and you know how truly frightening it is.
My oldest son, who is 4, is suffering from severe allergies, and we had to have his tonsils and adenoids removed last year. He had one of those terrible coughs that Sloan was talking about with her son.
My daughter, who's 3 years old, she's been sick for the last 5 weeks. She's had this horrible cough. Last night she was up and I was up for about 3 hours because she kept coughing. And I've given her tons of different medicines. It's not going away.
I had an incident just this past week. We were visiting with my mother in Texas, and my son, my youngest son, every night he was having these coughing spells, coughing, and then one night he just had an all blown out asthma attack.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she has asthma, and no one in my family has a history of asthma. No one in her father's family has a history of asthma.
I started to ask the doctors a lot of questions. They said, well, why are you surprised? Asthma is the #1 reason that kids come to the emergency room at New York Hospital. Wow, that surprised me. So then I started to ask my parents and my in-laws. Turns out that 4 generations back on both sides of the families, nobody had ever had any pulmonology issue whatsoever. No food allergy, no asthma, nothing. So, well then why? Why now? Why this adore? He's really cute. You got to meet him. I mean, you know, why him, right? And we realized that there's genetics or there's environmental. It's one or the other. And clearly it wasn't genetic, so it had to be environmental. So we started to do our research, right? And that's what mothers do. When we don't know how to deal with things, we start to look for answers. And we found out some pretty scary things, which I don't know if all of you know. How about the fact that 1 out of every 13 school-age children in America has asthma? That's a big number. Then I found out that asthma rates in kids under 5 have risen 160% between the years of 1980 and 1994. That's pretty big too. And I started to learn through doing a lot of reading that there was this direct correlation between the toxins found in our common household cleaners and the rates of asthma and allergies. I started to think about how I was going to spread this message, because it's a message about our homes, it's a message about asthma, it's a message about those little lungs and those little people, and it's also a message about the planet. And I wanted a way to get moms together to talk about it, because I think really we are the change makers, so to speak. We're the ones who can really make a difference. And I had this thought that if we all got together, that not only could you all hear the message, but then maybe you could help me to spread the message. And so I asked Cindy to come, my goddess, and talk to us about what's really going on in our homes and give you kind of the inside skinny on what's happening and what we can do to make a difference.
Well, thanks,
Cindy.
Sloan. This is such an important topic. You know, women are the caretakers of the home, and we want to make sure that our homes are the safest place in the world. Now, so I'm going to share the real dirt on clean. So to start out, 90% of all poison exposures occur in the home. And just last year, there were 200,000 poisonings that happened from household cleaners. And all of us know that we should keep these products out of the reach of children and use the safety latches and make sure they're tucked away. But the thing that people don't realize is that all those cumulative products that you use in your home can actually create real health consequences, and that's the dirty little secret that people don't know about that I'd like to talk about. Now, 90% of our time is spent inside, and if you go to the Environmental Protection Agency website, you'll find that indoor air pollution is 2 to 5 times higher inside than it is outside. So you have to ask yourself the question, where are these pollutants coming from? Well, they're coming from our carpeting, they're coming from upholstery, they're coming from the air fresheners you spray in the air, and what you clean your home with. So this cumulative toxic effect is enormous. And if you're thinking about the number of chemicals that have been introduced, in the last several decades, 80,000 new chemicals have been introduced today, and they've been registered with the EPA, but very, very, very few of them have been tested for toxicity. And what that means is that you and I and our families are part of the biggest chemistry experiment ever conducted, and we're all the guinea pigs, because nobody knows what the cumulative effects of all of these chemicals are to our health. And if you go to the Environmental Protection Agency website and you try to look up hazardous household waste, I'm going to show you what they considered hazardous household waste. And they say that the disposal of the following products can be environmental toxins and harmful to human health. So are you kind of curious what those might be? Let me show you. Well, they include harmful to human health, bleach, harmful to human health, toilet bowl cleaner, oven cleaner.
Obviously, for legal reasons, we can't reveal the names, but I think you might recognize
Tub
a few
and
of your
tile
pals.
cleaner, and drain cleaner. So these are all environmental toxins and considered harmful to human health. And you have to ask yourself the question, you know, if our governmental authorities know that these are harmful, are these really things that we want to have in our homes today? Now, I'd also like to share with you a number of other types of chemicals that are being used in products that we may be using all of the time that have harmful health consequences too. And I'm going to start with an ingredient that's called sodium hydroxide. Now, sodium hydroxide as a chemical is known as an immediate respiratory irritant. So immediately upon inhalation, it can cause respiratory problems. It can cause damage to your mouth, your eyes, your skin, and your throat. And in some cases, it could cause kidney and liver damage. So we're going to clear these off, and I want to show you kind of an array of products that contain this particular ingredient. And they include things like tub and tile cleaner, once again, toilet bowl cleaner, oven cleaner. So these are getting familiar, aren't they? They can also be found in dishwashing liquids and can be found in some types of laundry detergents. And they can be found in scouring cleansers and also some types of pre-spotters. Now, I want you to think about the ways you use these types of products. You'll notice a lot of them have spray triggers so that you're spraying them in the air. And these are things that there's a high probability that you're potentially inhaling or your family may be inhaling. And again, this particular ingredient, sodium hydroxide, is known to be immediately irritating to your respiratory system. So this is a whole array of products that is something you want to think about too. Now, another ingredient that's often found in household products is called hydrochloric acid. And you probably heard about this in high school chemistry. Very, very powerful and dangerous ingredient that's often found in toilet bowl cleaners and also in fabric odor eliminators. Now, hydrochloric acid will cause severe damage to your skin. It's fatal if it's ingested, and it can also cause severe problems if inhaled. And if you read the warning labels of these products, they say, be very, very careful, make sure your room is ventilated. But think of the way you use a toilet bowl cleaner. You're in a bathroom, you're working away, it's sealed up, and typically we don't hold our breaths when we're cleaning our home. That's not the typical way we do it. And this is a product.
Or wear a gas mask.
Or wear a gas mask. So there's a big question you want to ask yourself. If these things are not designed for us to breathe, why are we using them in our home?